Now, for 25 years, Leicester's former courthouse has been empty and unused. But now, after 12 months of restoration work, the building has been brought back to life.
De Montfort University has spent millions of pounds converting the 11th century building into the Leicester Castle Business School. Our reporter Phil Brewster joins us now from inside the building. So go on, Phil, what's it like?
Well, Samina, Judge Brewster presiding here at this former courthouse based at De Montfort University. As you can see around you, it's an absolutely stunning building, oak panels, very imposing format. I think we should show you some pictures now of the outside of the building where this particular room is housed, and some of the actual architecture inside, the beams, some of the Gothic archways that have been discovered while this place has been restored. As I mentioned, this place has 1,000 years of history. Most of that was as a courthouse. But finally, it closed its doors in 1992, and then for the next 25 years, quarter of a century, it's essentially remained an unused, disused building. Now, De Montfort University has spent £4.2 million restoring this building. So you can see all these fixtures and fittings around me are going to be part of lectures that will be held here. It's going to become De Montfort University's new business school, something that has delighted staff.
It creates a unique opportunity to give the students, make the students feel as though they're a part of history. And very often business schools take the approach of having modern buildings and getting students to think about modernity and the future. But we think business students should also think about the past, and they should think about their place in the world as a whole. And the building really achieves that for us.
Now, of course, while doing this work, all the restoration stuff had to be done incredibly sensitive. This is a listed building, so the architects had to work very closely with conservation groups and heritage groups. Beneath this very room itself, I think you can see some pictures now of some of the other buildings and rooms inside this building. I think there's some prisoner cells, which originally were where, obviously, people were brought up into this courtroom to stand trial or enter pleas, etc. There are also pictures of vaults, which you've got, which are originally where the armaments were stored here when Leicester Castle obviously was part of a fortification. Later court records were eventually stored there now. Now, the architect told us earlier on that while restoring this building, he'd made some also pretty grim discoveries.
We uncovered a couple of skeletons on probably one of the first days that we were on site here, really. We think that they used to carry out executions on the green. I don't know whether they are connected, but you never know.
Well, as I mentioned, this building itself has huge amounts of history. One woman who knows more than most, I think we can show some pictures of her now, is an archivist, Jess Jenkins. Now, she works at the Leicestershire, Leicester and Rutland Records Office. Now, she's delved through huge amounts of paperwork, dug some out for us earlier today to have a look at, including some records that go back to sort of 1650, talking about cases that took place there. One of the most infamous cases that was actually held here was in 1920, and that involved the murder of Bella Wright. Now, she was killed. The person accused of that was a man called Ron Light. The case itself became known later as the green bike case. That's because Bella Wright had been seen later with a man on a green bike. That green bike was then thrown into a canal, found, and it later turned out to belong to Ron Light. But as Jess tells us, the case didn't exactly turn out as people expected.
He got as his advocate defending him, Sir Edward Marshall Hall, who was famous for defending people. And it attracted a lot of media attention. We've got some photographs here taken actually inside the courtroom, which is surprising. And of course, Ronald Light did get off, despite everyone being fairly convinced he was probably guilty.
Well, I've moved away, as you can see now from the judge's chair. I'm very much in the dock, which is where a lot of people said I should have been sent absolutely years ago. The restoration work is pretty much all but complete here. Students are already having their lectures. I think it only remains for me now to be sent down. See you later.
Fascinating, fascinating. Your Honour, Judge P. Brewster, thank you for joining us.